Hello everyone. Now that you have a basic understanding of how microorganisms cause disease, yun yung diniscuss ko last meeting, we will take a look at some of the specific properties of microorganisms that contribute to pathogenicity. So our topic for today is about microbial mechanisms of pathogenicity. Okay, so ito yung assignment ninyo, pathogenicity and virulence. So, ano yung difference nila? Ito, nakalagay sa table yung difference. So, pathogenicity is the quality or state of being pathogenic. Okay? So, malalaman natin na yung isang microorganisms is pathogenic or non-pathogenic if it's capable to cause disease. So, kung it is capable of causing disease, it's pathogenic, and that's the ability of an infectious agent. So that is pathogenicity. Whereas virulence is the disease causing power of an organism. So dito tinatakal yung degree of pathogenicity within a group or species. So it focuses on pathogenic microorganisms. So pathogenicity, malalaman lang natin or we classify them. Yan, it's just a qualitative term if that microorganism is pathogenic or not pathogenic. And if it's pathogenic, yun, dito papasok yung virulence. Ano yung degree of pathogenicity? And we all know, based doon sa assignment ninyo, virulence, ito yung kung capable of producing and releasing toxins or invade tissues, or they can compete for nutrients and their ability to suppress the immune mechanism. Okay? Especially sa humans. So, yun yung quantitative term or yung virulence na tinatawag. So, dito, again, dinedescribe yung severity from less virulent to high virulent microorganisms causing severe disease. Okay? Pathogenicity follows the virulence. Okay? And yon nga nabanggit ko kanina, a quantitative term. So it is the likelihood of a pathogen causing infection and the degree of damage. So it can be measured in viruses. Example, yon you can determine the dose required to cause death in 50% of animals. So yung LD50, dito pumapasok yung LD50 sa virulence factor. Okay? Ayan. Okay, to cause disease, most pathogens must first gain access to the host. Okay, hindi naman sila makakapag-cause ng disease kung hindi sila makaka-access sa host. Adhere to host tissues. Ang target usually ng mga microorganisms ay yung cells natin. So, they need to adhere to host tissues and must penetrate or evade host defenses. However, some microbes do not cause disease, okay, or by penetrating the host defenses. And lastly, damage the host tissues. Again, hindi lahat ng microorganism can cause disease by directly damaging host tissue. So instead, ang ginagawa nila, the disease is due to the accumulation of microbial waste products. So some microbes such as those that cause dental caries or acne can cause disease without penetrating the body. Okay? As I've mentioned kanina, pathogens must gain access to the host. So, dapat maka-access sila, and we have this portal of entry. So, they can gain entrance to the human body and other hosts through several avenues. Ito na yung mga portals of entry. So, many bacteria and viruses gain access to the body by penetrate nila yung mucous membranes, uh, lining of the respiratory tract, yung mga GI tract, and genitourinary tract, and yung conjunctiva, ocular surface. So, First, we have the respiratory tract. It is the easiest and most frequently traveled portal of entry for infectious microorganisms. So, paano ba nakaka-access yung pasok yung mga microorganisms through the respiratory tract. So, microbes are inhaled into the nose or mouth in drops of moisture and dust particles. And then, yun, dediretso na sila sa respiratory tract. Next is the ocular surface, conjunctiva. It is a delicate membrane that covers the eyeballs and lines the eyelids. So, pwede sila maka-access doon kasi it is open. Okay? Open ang ocular surface and alam natin na may mga diseases ang kinokos ng mga microorganisms sa ocular surface. We have the pink eye na tinatawag. Okay? And some microorganisms gain access to the tissues through parenteral route. It is the breaking of the skin. So, nakaka-access sila through the bites by a vector, injections, and other wounds. Kaya, ang nakalagay dito, blood and vector borne. Okay? So, hindi siya under block and vector borne or parenteral route kung hindi na-break yung skin muna. Okay? Ayun. Next, we have your gastrointestinal tract. So, nakaka-gain access sila sa GI tract natin through food and water and that are contaminated. Next, urogenital tract. So, it is a portal of entry for pathogens that are contracted sexually, so through sexual intercourse. So, some microorganisms that cause sexually transmitted infections may penetrate an unbroken mucous membrane in our urogenital tract. And the last one is the skin. So most microorganisms can penetrate intact skin. Okay, they enter hair follicles and sweat ducts. Okay, unless nga mabibreak yung skin and so magiging parenteral root na siya. Okay. And once they gain access, okay, malalaman natin kung if the disease occurs in our body or in the host. So it consists of several factors or it depends on several factors, only one of which is the portal of entry. So many pathogens have a preferred portal of entry that is a prerequisite to their being able to cause disease. So many microorganisms can cause infections only when they gain access through their specific portal of entry. So example natin, we have your Streptococcus pneumoniae that is inhaled. So yun yung preferred route niya. It can cause pneumonia. So generally, it does not produce signs or symptoms if swallowed. Okay? Kung masaswallow siya, mapupunta siya sa GI tract. Pero, yun nga, hindi siya makakapag-cause ng disease. And unless ang portal of entry niya ay yung respiratory tract, so pupunta siya sa lungs doon, yun yung preferred portal of entry niya. It can cause pneumonia. Another factor for the occurrence of disease is the number of invading microbes. Okay, so if you can remember when I discussed the microbial control, and one of the factors for the effectivity of antimicrobial agent is the number of microorganism. So, enough microorganism, kabaliktaran nito, can cause disease. Okay? So, kung doon sa antimicrobial, masyadong mataas yung number of microorganisms, depende sa dosage na kailangan. So, malalaman natin kung effective or hindi yung antimicrobial. So, here, numbers of invading microbes, if only a few microbes enter the body, they will probably be overcome by the host defenses. However, if mataas yung number of microorganisms that gain entry, the stage is probably set for disease. Okay, so the number of invading microorganism is one of the significant factors in the occurrence of disease. And virulence can be expressed as LD50 and ID50. Okay, so ito na yung nababanggit ko kanina na lethal dose for 50% of the inoculated hosts and ID50 infectious dose for 50% of the inoculated hosts. So let's say LD50 is the number of pathogenic microorganisms or the dose that is required to kill 50% of the infected animals. And for ID, ito yung number of pathogens or dose to cause the active infection in 50% of inoculated animals. Not necessarily killed the infected animals. So, kung mamamatay na kasi yung 50% of the inoculated host, that is already LD50, not ID50. Okay. So, dito sa picture, let us look at the picture. This one is the example. So we have strain A and strain B. So strain A muna tayo, focus muna tayo. We have here the dose per unit of time versus the percent deaths or the mortality. Okay, so ilang kailangan na dose for 50% to achieve 50% of mortality. Parang ganun. So, 30 doses of strain A, ito siya, 30 doses of strain A of a pathogen can kill 50% of host cells. Whereas yung strain B, ang kailangan na dose ay 50. Okay? Yun yung kailangan. So, which is based dito, strain A that needs 30 and strain B that needs 50, which is more virulent. Okay? So, sa tingin niyo, which is more virulent? So, the answer is strain A. Okay? As a smaller dose of strain A compared with strain B can kill 50% population of host cell. So, makikita mo dito na konti lang yung kailangan mong dose ng pathogenic microorganism para makapag-cause siya ng 50% mortality sa isang population. Okay? Kaya compared mo dito sa strain B, mas virulent. Okay? Si strain A. Okay, almost all pathogens have some means of attaching themselves to host tissues at their portal of entry. Na-mention ko na to kanina, gain access, di ba? Yun yung una. Next is adherence. Okay, so adhesins, these are also called ligands. These are surface projections on a pathogen adhere to complementary receptors on the host cells. So, na-mention ko na yung adhesins during my discussion on bacterial structure. Diba? So, yung adhesin, it is complementary to the receptor na meron sa host cell. Meron sa host cells. Okay? And it can be glycoproteins or lipoproteins and are frequently associated with fimbriae. Okay? So, these, when the adhesin binds to receptor, this goes for altering the signaling of host cells to facilitate bacterial survival and spread. Okay, so ina-alter niya yung signaling ng mga host cells para makapag-survive sila and ma-spread yung disease or yung yung pathogen, makapag-spread sila in other parts of the body. Okay? So, very important ang adherence. Aside from adhesins, we have also biofilms. So, microorganisms have the ability to come together in masses. Okay, they cling to surfaces and then take in and share available nutrients in communities called the biofilms. So, this one is an alternative lifestyle. So, ito yung mga alternative lifestyle ng microorganisms that adopt a multicellular behavior. So, di ba, we all know that they are unicellular, but they adopt a multicellular behavior that facilitates or prolongs their survival in diverse environmental niches. Okay, bacteria, ang nangyayari once they attach to a surface, these bacteria are cocooned, okay, in a self-produced extracellular matrix. Ayan. A matrix is a mixture of polysaccharides, proteins, and nucleic acids that bind the cells together. Okay? So this matrix now protects biofilm bacteria from exposure to innate immune defenses such as phagocytosis and opsonization. And of course, they protect the it protects the biofilm bacteria from exposure to antibiotic treatments. Okay, so um, once they are protected, they also establish chronic infections such as upper respiratory infections like caused by Pseudomonas aeruginosa and urinary tract infections by your E. coli. Okay? Ayan. How bacterial pathogens penetrate host defenses. Although some pathogens can cause damage on the surface of tissues, most must penetrate tissues to cause disease. So some bacteria make glycocalyx material just like such as the capsule, okay, and it is formed around their cell walls. Tama? So this property having capsules increases the virulence of pathogenic species. So hindi naman lahat. May mga microorganisms or bacteria na nakakapag form ng glycocalyx but not all. Okay? So anong nagagawa ng capsule or ano yung function niya? It can resist the host defenses. Okay? Ano ba yung mga host defenses natin? White blood cells, tama? So we all know that some white blood cells are phagocytic. Okay? So they can perform phagocytosis, the engulfment of bacteria or a food a particle, okay, thereby killing them. Okay? So nire-resist yun ng capsule, yung phagocytosis, okay? And yun yung nagiging protection nila. So once na na-resist yon, paano po ba? So we all know that pathogen have antigen and dapat nagbabind yun sa antibody. Tama? And the antibody, once that is binded with the antigen, nako-call niya yung parang nare-recognize to ng phagocytic cell. Okay? Phagocytic cell. Okay. So, nag-a-attach yung phagocytic cell doon sa antibody and ma-recognize niya na it is a pathogen or a foreign material. Okay? However, paano nare-resist, ma'am? Because of the capsule present sa cell wall that protects the cell, okay, of pathogens, hindi nakakapag-bind yung antibody sa antigen. Okay? Thereby, hindi nare-recognize ng phagocytic cell. Okay? However, we have antibody that can break the capsule and bind to the antigen. That is IgA antibody. However, para nga silang nagsasalitan ng bala that even though kahit meron silang capsule, meron din naman tayong antibody that still can break the capsule and bind to antigen. Ang nangyayari, meron din namang nagre-release ng protease against that antibody, okay? Kaya hindi din naman, kaya naman nare-resist pa din nila yung nare-resist nila yung phagocytosis. Okay? So again, capsules and protease. Di-discuss ko pa further yung protease later. Another one is cell wall component. So the cell walls of certain bacteria contain chemical substances that contribute to virulence. So for example, we have Streptococcus pyogenes that produces a heat-resistant and acid-resistant protein called DM protein. So this protein is found on both the cell surface and the membrane. Okay? So anong ginagawa nito? It mediates the attachment or adherence of the bacterium to the epithelial cells, okay, and helps the bacterium resist, okay, phagocytosis by white blood cells. So the M protein thereby increases the virulence of the microorganism, and usually it is present on sa mga gram-positive bacterium. Okay? Like your Streptococcus pyogenes. Again, cell wall components, proteins in the cell wall can facilitate adherence or prevent a pathogen from being phagocytized. Example is your M protein. Ayan. Always remember that M protein. Okay, so the virulence of some bacteria is aided by the production of extracellular enzymes and other related substances. So these chemicals can digest materials between cells and form or digest blood clots among other functions. Okay, so yon nagpo-produce yung mga microorganisms ng enzyme. Example is coagulases. These are bacterial enzymes that coagulate, okay, the fibrinogen in the blood into fibrin. Okay, so it is normal na nagkakaroon tayo ng blood clotting, okay, especially when kung nasugatan tayo para ma-prevent yung excessive bleeding. Okay, so yung fibrinogen is produced saan? Sa liver. Okay, pero ang ginagawa ng mga enzymes na pinoproduce ng mga microorganisms such as your coagulases, it clots the fibrinogen, okay, into fibrin thread. So, ano yung purpose nito? Bakit nila pinaklat pa? Okay, to what? Para ma-isolate sila from the, okay, from the immune cells. Para hindi sila ma-target agad ng mga immune cells. Okay? Yan. However, bacterial kinases, ito naman, it breaks down fibrin and thus digests clots formed by the body to allow more rapid diffusion of infectious bacteria. Ayan. So, kung meron coagulases, meron din naman silang kinases para makapag-spread sila. Okay? Especially sa blood. Okay. So, as a defense against adherence of pathogens to mucosal surfaces, ang ginagawa ng katawan natin, it produces a class of antibodies called IgA antibodies na mention ko din kanina, that it also binds to the capsules of pathogenic bacteria. So there are some pathogens with the ability to produce enzymes called IgA proteases. So na-mention ko ulit kanina to. So kung tayong mga host, nagpo-produce tayo ng IgA antibodies as a defense against adherence of pathogens, there are also pathogens with the ability to produce enzymes na IgA proteases that can destroy these antibodies. Okay, so ayan, we have three enzymes: coagulases, kinases, IgA proteases. Okay, so in the presence of antigens from pathogens, always remember na yung antigen, it is present to in the pathogens. Yung antibody, yun yung pinoproduce natin sa katawan natin that binds to antigen para ma-recognize nila na it is pathogen or foreign material. Okay, so however, some pathogens can alter their surface antigens by a process called antigenic variation. So, some microbes vary the expression of antigens, thus avoiding the host antibodies. By the time the body mounts an immune response against a pathogen, the pathogen has already altered its antigens and is unaffected by the antibody. So some microorganisms can activate alternative genes resulting in antigenic changes. So, yon. Of course, hindi din naman malalaman ng katawan natin na infected tayo kung hindi nagbabind yung antibodies or hindi nababind yung antibodies sa antigen. Okay? Next, we have penetration into host. Bacteria may produce proteins that alter the actin of the host cell's cytoskeleton, allowing bacteria into the cell. So, the microfilaments of the eukaryotic cytoskeleton are composed of a protein called the actin. Tama? Actin cytoskeleton, kaya yun yung tawag nila. So, bacteria may produce proteins that can alter the actin of the host cell's cytoskeleton. So, pag na-penetrate na nila yung cytoskeleton or yung cell by uh, by altering the cytoskeleton, others may move through and between host cells and may spread to other parts of the body and may cause disease. Okay? Okay, so once they already attach to the host tissues, how bacterial pathogens damage host cells. So there are four basic ways. So, di ba ang nangyayari, when a microorganism invades a body tissues or body tissue, it uh, initially nakaka-encounter siya ng phagocytes of the host, especially sa blood. And if yung phagocyte are successful in destroying the microorganism or the invader, anong mangyayari? No further damage is done to the host. So, wala, hindi magkakaroon ng disease. But if the pathogen overcomes the host defense, then the microorganism can damage host cells. And there are four basic ways. So, first is by using the host nutrients. And the most common nutrient is the iron. Yun. And yun yung usually din na uh, ginagamit ng mga bacteria. And when yung iron ay na-deprive sa atin, nagkakaroon tayo ng usually anemia. Ayan. Next, by causing direct damage in the immediate vicinity of the invasion, and also by producing toxins transported by blood and lymph that damage sites far removed from the original site of invasion, and by inducing hypersensitivity reactions to the host cell. And so first we have using the host nutrients, and there's the common nutrient that they get from the host. We have your iron, and they use siderophores. So these um, siderophores are released into the medium. So as you can see, ah, eto yung bacterial receptors, yun yung mga naka-attach doon sa bacterium or sa pathogen. And we have the blue ones, which are your siderophores, and the orange ones are the iron. Okay, so siderophores are released into the medium where they take the iron away from iron transport proteins from the host by binding the iron even more tightly. Okay, so once the iron siderophore complex is formed, it is taken up by the siderophore receptors, ito sila, on the bacterial surface that are present on the bacterial surface. Then the iron is brought into the bacterium. Okay, and next one, we have your direct damage. So, ang nangyari dito, once the pathogen attached to the host cells, they can cause direct damage as the pathogens use the host cell for nutrients and produce waste products. So, once they cause direct damage, the pathogens metabolize and multiply in cells. Okay? Usually, uh, ang nangyayari, the cells usually rupture. So, ang example dito, viruses. So, many viruses and some bacteria, and also yung mga protozoa, these are your parasites. They grow in the host cells, and they were released when the host cell ruptures. Okay? And pag na-release na sila, yung mga pathogens can spread to other tissues even in greater numbers. Okay, another way of damaging the host cells by the bacterial pathogens is the production of toxins. And these toxins are often the primary factor contributing to the pathogenic properties of those microbes. So, What are toxins? These are poisonous substances produced by microorganisms, but not all are capable of producing toxins. Toxemia is the presence of toxins in the blood, and toxigenicity is the ability to produce toxins, okay? Especially yung mga microbes. So as you can see here, we have your exotoxins. I have uh, discussed this. I already discussed this one during the discussion on bacterial structures. So exotoxins are produced inside some bacteria as part of their growth and metabolism. So inside exotoxins inside. And later on, they are secreted by the bacterium into the surrounding medium or release following lysis or the bursting of the cell. So it's exotoxins, not the bacteria, that produce the disease symptoms in some microorganisms. Okay? And because the exotoxins are soluble in body fluids, um, mabilis lang sila ma-diffuse sa blood, and uh, rapidly they are transported throughout the body. Okay? So kaya pag um, you are infected with bacteria that are producing toxins, okay, mabilis lang magkaroon ng disease. Okay? Toxoids, these are altered exotoxins, such as your vaccines, or as stimulates antitoxin production. And for antitoxins naman, these are antibodies produced against exotoxins. So we will discuss further about toxins. There are types of exotoxin. First, we have your AB toxins that consist of an active component that inhibits a cellular process and a binding component that attaches the two portions of the target cell. So the A part is the active, or it is the enzyme component, and the B part is the binding component. So it binds to the B part is the one that binds to the receptor of the host cell. Okay, so exotoxins, again, they are part of the metabolism of the pathogen and later on secreted. So once secreted, the part B will bind to a receptor present in the host cell, and yun, once they attach to the host cell receptor, okay, ang mangyayari, they will magkakaroon ng lysis with the of, of the host cell. Okay? Okay, another type of exotoxin, we have your membrane disrupting toxins. These are toxins that cause lysis of the host cells by disrupting their plasma membranes. So these toxins destroy erythrocytes also, or the red blood cells, by forming protein channels in the plasma membrane and disrupting the phospholipid portion of the membrane. Okay, so example nga, as I've mentioned, hemolysins. These are released by the pathogens to destroy the erythrocytes or red blood cells, and they form protein channels. That's why um, um, merong mga highly pathogenic. So usually tinetest natin through hemolysin test or as toxicity test yung mga pathogens, to ensure, especially yung mga tinitake natin as probiotics, to ensure na safe sila for ingestion, na hindi nadidisrupt yung mga red blood cells natin. Okay? And so, membrane disrupting toxins, example, we have your hemolysins. Another type of exotoxins, we have your super antigens. So these are antigens that are present to the pathogens present in their surface, okay, that provoke a very intense immune response. Okay, so they provoke the release of cytokines that are produced by the host T cell. So tayo yung nagpo-produce or nagre-release ng cytokines. And it is normal because these cytokines are small protein molecules, okay, produced by various body cells like your T cells that regulate immune response and mediate cell-to-cell communication. Okay? So, ang tinutukoy dito, regulate immune response and immediate cell-to-cell communication, it's the cytokines, not the super antigens. Okay? So, it is very important sa atin na mag-release ng cytokines for cell-to-cell communication, especially if we are already infected. Okay? Sasabihin sa ibang cells, immune cells, that we are already invaded by pathogens through the release of cytokines. However, the super antigens provoke the release of cytokines. So, excessively high levels of cytokines are released by T cells enter the bloodstream and give rise to a number of symptoms such as fever, nausea, and other symptoms. Okay, so kung yun yung nagiging effect ng super antigen, so niloloko nila tayo. Okay, and later on we are infected, but parang nakakaya naman ng katawan natin, however they have the super antigens, and later on nagkakaroon na tayo ng fever, and nafe-feel na natin yung other symptoms and even nausea. Okay, so with that, magkakaroon na din tayo ng disease afterwards. Okay? Ayan. So, super antigen. Okay, so we have your endotoxins. Endotoxin, you already know that they differ from exotoxins in several ways. First is that endotoxins are part of bacterial cells and not a metabolic product, just like the exotoxins, tama? And we all know that gram-negative bacteria, they have this portion, lipid portion of LPS, the lipopolysaccharide called the lipid A. Ayan siya. Ito yung endotoxin na tinatawag din. And thus, the endotoxins are lipids whereas endotoxins are proteins. So, parang na-mention ko noon is that the M protein, which is a cell wall component, is an endotoxin. But, na-excite lang ako siguro doon na it is an endotoxin. But, as I've mentioned noon, M protein is a protein. Okay, a part of the cell wall component, but now I am clearly saying that it is not an endotoxin. So if we say endotoxin is a lipid, okay, endotoxins are lipids, okay, and exotoxins are proteins, okay. Pero since yung M protein is not part of the metabolism, still it is not exotoxin, okay. So neither exotoxins or endotoxins ang M protein, but it is a cell wall component of gram-positive bacteria. Okay? Clear ko, gusto ko lang i-clear yon. Okay? And the lipid A is a component of the cell wall of gram-negative bacteria found in specifically sa lipopolysaccharide LPS. Okay, so endotoxins stimulate macrophages to release cytokines, also just like the super antigens, in very high concentration, causing fever and shock. So if we say shock, this is the decrease in blood pressure. Okay, so and if we say decrease in blood pressure, it is a life-threatening disease, okay, or condition. And shock is caused by bacteria and it is commonly known as septic shock. Okay? So, ganun yung nangyayari. So, ito yung endotoxin that is present sa surface ng pathogen, and when it is engulfed by the macrophages, it releases or it stimulates the release of cytokines by the macrophages. And once na nag-release siya ng cytokines, di ba? Alam natin na it is for cell to cell communication, and yun. And once it is released in the bloodstream, sorry, or in the blood vessel, it also causes fever. So uh, shock na yung blood pressure. Okay? Another word, we have plasmids, lysogeny, and pathogenicity. So plasmids may carry genes for antibiotic resistance, for toxin production, and capsule formation, and the fimbriae. Ayan. So, as I've mentioned on, we all know that plasmids, these are small circular DNA molecules that are not connected to the main bacterial chromosome. So, separate siya. And capable tong mga plasmids of independent replication. And one group of plasmids called the um, um, R, okay, or resistant factors, they are responsible for the resistance of some microorganisms to antibiotics. So as you can see, resistant siya sa A, resistant siya sa B antibiotics, C antibiotics. So in the picture, they are called Res A, Res B, Res C. Okay, so Res A gives resistance to antibiotic A, type of antibiotic, Res B to antibiotic B, and so on and so forth. And these plasmids can in some cases be transferred to other types of bacteria, bringing the resistance along. So, through conjugation naman yon. Tama? Ayan. So, yon, lysogeny, if we say lysogeny, it is incorporated into the genome of the host cell. Okay? Okay, so balikan lang natin yung lysogeny. So here is an example. So lysogenic conversion can result in bacteria with virulence factors such as toxins or capsules. Ayan, so from bacteriophage, some bacteriophage or bacteriophages, these are viruses that infect bacteria, can incorporate their DNA into the bacterial chromosome. And ano yung na-perform? Your prophage or prophage. So one outcome of lysogeny is that the host bacterial cell and its progeny may exhibit new properties encoded by the bacteriophage DNA. Diba? Na-incorporate yun, and later on it will be replicated uh, through the um, binary fission. So such a change in the characteristics of a microbe due to a prophage is called lysogenic conver conversion. And later on, the bacterium may infect the um, host cells also and damage the cells or the host cells having the um, prophage that can also cause damage to the cells. Okay? And yun, as I've mentioned kanina, that they can also produce toxins and capsules that can increase the virulence factors or the pathogenicity of these pathogens to cause disease to humans. Okay, kung meron tayong portals of entry, meron din tayong portals of exit. So, the portals of exit let pathogens spread through a population by moving from one susceptible host to another. Yan, kaya nai-spread yung pathogens from one host to another. Because of, syempre, kung merong portals of entry, paano nakakapasok, and they may cause can cause disease or infection sa katawan natin, it may be transmitted to another person. Dadaan sila sa portals of exit. Okay, so many pathogens living in the respiratory tract exit in discharges from the mouth and nose, and they are expelled during coughing or sneezing. So, kung portals of entry, nakakapasok sila sa katawan natin through inhaling, okay, droplets or airborne microorganisms. Next, we have the gastrointestinal tract via saliva or feces. Okay, so ang portals of entry ay nagiging portals of entry din ang gastrointestinal tract via eating or ingesting um, contaminated food and water, and later on they may be transmitted to another person uh, exiting the gastrointestinal tract via saliva or feces. Okay, and microbes are responsible for sexually transmitted infections are found in secretions from the penis and vagina. And always remember that urine can also contain the pathogens. Okay, and drainage from wounds can spread infections to another person directly or by contact with a contaminated fomite. Okay, fomite, these are non-living things. So, infected blood can be removed and re-injected by biting insects, yung mga vectors natin, and yung mga contaminated needles natin, syringes, okay, to spread infection within a population. Ayan, so, parang parenteral route pag sa wounds, and by vector naman for arthropods or yung mga insects natin. Okay? Yun. And hopefully sa laboratory ninyo, you can apply or may use techniques in identifying pathogens or microorganisms present in your your urine samples. Ayan, so clinical samples ang gagamitin ninyo for your laboratory exercise. Ayan, so here's a summary of the microbial mechanisms of pathogenicity. Of course, pathogenicity starts with the portals of entry, okay, via respiratory tract, gastrointestinal tract, genitourinary tract, conjunctiva, skin, and parenteral route. And we consider the number of invading microbes and their adherence for them to be able to cause disease or infect hosts. So for penetration or evasion of host defenses, some factors may include the presence of capsules, cell wall components, enzymes, antigenic variations in vaccines, and intracellular growth. And after penetration, pathogens damage host cells to effectively cause disease, okay, by using siderophores to take or get iron from the host, direct damage, examples your viruses, and their capability to produce toxins like the exotoxins and the endotoxins. We have also discussed the lysogenic conversion, and then the last one is the cytoplasmic effects. Okay, so it is not naman very important. And now we have your portals of exit. So generally the same as the portals of entry for a given microbe. And we have also examples here, the mucous membranes, okay, of the respiratory tract, and also your GI tract, the skin, and the parenteral route. Okay. Okay, so that ends my presentation. Thank you for listening. And I hope na face-to-face na tayo next week. And yeah, ito na yung last topic natin for the second half. And magkakaroon lang ulit kayo ng siguro take home activity, or depende kung i-require ko kayo na gawin niyo sa school. And then yeah, finals na. Okay? So yeah. So have a nice day.